She was not born a prisoner. She had a name, a family, dreams that once belonged to a normal girl. But the day Imperial officials arrived at her village, everything ended. In ancient China, thousands of young girls were taken from their homes to serve one man, the emperor. Some were chosen for beauty, others for obedience. Many were barely old enough to understand what was happening. Their families could not refuse. To refuse meant punishment or death. Once a girl entered the palace, she never truly left it again. The Forbidden City was a gilded cage. From the outside, it was breathtaking golden roofs, red walls, and silk curtains flowing in the wind. But inside, it was a silent prison. Concubines lived under a crushing weight of endless rules. They couldn't leave their quarters without permission. They couldn't laugh too loudly or cry too openly. Every movement was watched, and every word was remembered. An army of servants and eunuchs reported everything: who spoke to whom, who smiled too much, who looked unhappy. A single wrong look, a whispered complaint, could destroy a life. The palace was a web of intrigue, where friendships were temporary and survival depended on silence. At night, a concubine might be summoned by the emperor. This wasn't romance. It was a command. Her name would be written on a small wooden tablet, and if chosen, she would be wrapped in a quilt and carried by eunuchs through dark, winding corridors to the emperor's bedchamber. She could not refuse. To disobey meant severe punishment, sometimes even a quiet execution. But being chosen did not mean safety. In fact, favor was dangerous. The more the emperor liked her, the more enemies she made. Other concubines watched with burning jealousy. The empress watched with fear, seeing a potential rival who could threaten her status. Attention meant power, and in the Forbidden City, power meant constant danger. Rivals schemed in the shadows, waiting for a chance to strike. If a concubine became pregnant, her life balanced on a knife's edge. A child could bring honor, but most of the time, it brought mortal danger. Rivals would use poison hidden in tea or herbal medicines that secretly induced a miscarriage. Many babies never survived, and if a mother was suspected of plotting, she and her unborn child might disappear without a trace. If a child did live, the mother often lost them anyway. Sons were taken to be raised by the empress or other high-ranking consorts. The birth mother was forbidden from forming a close bond, allowed only occasional supervised visits. They were permitted to give birth to an heir but were never allowed to truly love their own child. The joy of motherhood was just another thing stolen from them. A concubine who lost the emperor's favor suffered a slower, more agonizing fate. She was sent to the cold palace, a forgotten corner of the Forbidden City. Here, she lived in cold, damp rooms, with no visitors and no warmth. Days blended into years, and years blended into a suffocating silence. Some were forced to serve the younger, favored concubines, women who once bowed to them. Others were given a white silk scarf and ordered to take their own lives. This was called preserving dignity, but there was no dignity in it. When an emperor died, the nightmare deepened for the women he left behind. For those without children, the future was grim. In some dynasties, childless concubines were buried alive with him, sacrificed so he would not be alone in the afterlife. Others were locked away in the palace for the rest of their lives. They were forbidden to remarry, forbidden to leave, forbidden to ever live as normal women again. They aged behind stone walls, watching seasons change through narrow windows, their existence a forgotten footnote. Young girls would arrive, full of fear and naive hope, while old women would disappear, their stories untold. History remembers the emperors, their wars, their dynasties, their grand achievements, but it forgets the thousands of women who paid the price for that glory. Women who lived without freedom, without love, and without a choice. For the concubines of ancient China, death was not the greatest tragedy. Living was. Thank you for watching. If you found this story compelling, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more hidden histories. See you next time.